Good evening and welcome to SlushHeap. My name is Rudi Fischer. I'm one half of the dynamic duo that brings you this show. Tonight's show is How to Write a Book, and it's making pricing decisions. Boy, we're going to talk about money tonight, right down my alley. But before I turn this over to my co-host, I have a couple of things I want to mention. Ironically, this is our 40th show. So someplace we reached a landmark, the way I see it, 40 shows, and we're both still here. So if you're keeping track, it's season 4, episode 8. So in case you're looking at it that way. But to me, this is the 40th show. And we've come a long way. Darcie and I have been together now for almost as long as she's been married, actually. I would say better part of 2 years. And what we've done is we've concentrated on the content of the show, mostly, to make sure we upgraded it, we made it a little better. I remember the first show was what? Fiction or nonfiction? I mean, how big of a category can you get? Now we're down to the itty-bitty little things, and we're really attacking them this year. And it's working out. We're getting some really good questions. We're getting some very good answers, actually. That's really nice. So, like I said, it is a kind of a landmark. The thing that also I wanted to bring up before I turn the show over, one of our guests that's present here tonight gets the news every week, it seems like. I see him someplace on the TV or, on some kind of a show. But the author that we had on, and she writes most of her books are based on Asian themes, but she was actually highlighted, I would say, in People magazine, that has the cover of Hillary Clinton on the front because she just released a book. So Lisa had to kind of take the second best thing. But she has a new book out called China Dolls, and to have that show up in the People magazine, I think that's a kudo for her, definitely. Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Lisa, if you see this, and keep up the good work. And with that, guess what, Darcie? You're going to get thrown under the bus.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to SlushHeap. As Rudi said, we're in season 4 now, and we've been working all season on an entire series on how to write a book, and we've tried to walk you through step by step. We started back with outlining with 2 wonderful guests, and we've worked through the first draft and what you can do to prepare for the launch. And now we're at that point where the book is out there, and you've got to make that decision on how it's going to be priced initially, and then whether or not you're going to play with the price. And that is something that a lot of authors do. It seems to be a going trend recently, actually, on Twitter, to have people really talk about the different experiments they're running with their pricing. So we've brought in 2 wonderful guests. As Rudi mentioned, one of them is a repeat, and another is new to us this evening. And as always, we have our friend of the show. So without anything further, I'll jump right to it. Giacalone has been with us several times, and he is an author but also a retired police officer, and much of what he writes and talks about, and the many times he's been featured on the news and radio stations and newspapers and everything else, is about his former life in that field. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's very nice to have you back. And seated beside him tonight is Mark. Mark, I am not going to try to butcher your last name. I have one of those names. I know how many times mine gets butchered, so I'm not even going to try. We're just going to leave it at that and let you say that later. But Mark's joining us actually from his office at Kobo, and I'm sure he'll be telling us a little bit about that, and as well as putting in his input as far as what you might do as an author with your pricing. So, Mark, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks. Can you tell why I write under the name Mark Leslie?
If it makes you feel any better, I've forbidden Rudi from saying my last name on air anymore because that one gets butchered all the time, too.
Well, Mark's is yours Lefebvre?
Lefebvre.
Right.
You just ignore half the
Player,
consonants.
right?
Yeah, there was a hockey player. Exactly.
Okay.
There you go. See, I
got a flyer. I should know that name.
You should. Excellent.
And seated beside Mark this evening is our very good friend of the show, our
the teetotaler,
consistent pal, Harlan Smith. And Harlan, as always, is joining us from Arizona. And he says it's a bit hot there, so you might want to stay up here in the Northeast with Mark. Are you in the Northeast?
It's kind of,
Okay.
yeah, just
So,
north
yeah.
of New York, yeah.
Okay, so Northeast with the rest of us, rather than visiting Harlan or Arizona. Rudi, that brings me back to you. So I'm going to, as always, let you get the questioning underway.
Okay, and looking at the title, pricing. Certainly we want to price the book to make the maximum profit, but if that doesn't produce sales, then you know what, you might as well hang it up. So here is the question. Where do we begin to even think, or how do we begin to think about pricing a novel we had just written and we're about to put it out there to the public? Either one of you can start that first.
Mark, go ahead. You go first.
Well, this is a challenge for me because I can look at this as an author, but also look at it as a retailer. One of the things that I think authors always face, and this is the big struggle, is I have put my heart and my soul and so much time and energy into, let's assume we're talking about a novel rather than a nonfiction book, but
Right.
You've put so much into it. And there has been, particularly since when you're thinking about ebooks and print books, people believe that all of the money is in the dead tree version. It's all the money is actually in the heart and soul and editing and all the things you did to make it. So one of the places I always advise authors to start with is first we need to know your target audience. So you need to know the genre or what you're writing in. Is it a thriller? Is it contemporary fiction? Is it romance? And then look at the market and what is that type of book selling for? And this is very easily where you can go to websites like Amazon and see the top 100 books in that category, and you will see a mixture. And oftentimes, if you're self-publishing, and I'm assuming we're talking a little bit about self-publishing because you're setting the price, not your publisher.
Right.
There is a cost. If you're doing a print book, there's going to be a cost, and your price has to be higher than the cost because otherwise you lose money with every book you sell. And then for the digital book, even if there is no print cost, you still have to factor out what is the cost of the cover design and the editorial, and how are you going to amortize that cost over time. And then look at the market. And this is where I think indie authors can run into a risk of either setting the price too high and pricing themselves out of the market, or setting it so low that they don't make the maximum margin they can make. And that's what I'm really interested in helping authors with. And we've got these stats that we run that kind of show the average price of the indie author and what the average price of the book in that category actually sells for. And it's a real balancing match. The one thing I will suggest that we keep in mind when we talk about pricing is price is a verb, not a noun. Especially in the digital atmosphere, you can change your price. So if you do make a mistake and you've found that you've priced, particularly when we're talking ebooks, if you've priced that at the wrong price, you can always change that. And that's one of the beautiful things that you didn't have when you were just thinking about print publishing.
Wait, so Mark, before we go too much further, because I do want to, throw it over to Joe and let him say his piece on that as well. But before we go any further, can you tell people a little bit about what Kobo is and?
Yeah, sorry. We're like the Canada's answer to Kindle. Kobo is an ebook company. Kobo is an anagram for book, and it was born out of Chapters Indigo, which was a major book retailer here in Canada, and it's basically an ebook platform. So you can think of it like iBooks or Kindle or Nook. Kobo is yet another player, another retailer. In the U.S. specifically, we partner with retailers. We've partnered with Chapters Indigo here in Canada. In the U.S., we've partnered with the independent bookstores. So you can buy Kobo ebooks through independent bookstores across the U.S., with W.H. Smith in the U.K. and Fnac in France and Mondadori in Italy. And in the 190 countries we're in, we've partnered with dozens of different retailers. So that's just to give a lay of the land of what Kobo is.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Joe, I'm going to throw it to you now. Is there anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to say further on that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mark says, but I'm going to take it just one step further in respect of when you think about it as a marketing point of view. I tell this all the time. Authors, you are a business. So you're in the business of publishing, you're in the business of selling, you're in the business of selling yourself, building your platform. So pricing is also going to be extremely important to this. I come from the school where put out the very best product you can at the best possible price point, where you are going to take market share, because that's the idea. Is you want to be able to be recognized, and I don't know if 99 cents is the answer, because I've looked at plenty of those and said I look at it and go, I'm not going to read a book that costs 99 cents, and then I'm not going to read the Kindle book that costs $30 either. So the point is, you have to examine the market, your competition. You have to find out what people are selling for, and like Mark said, you're looking at that top 100 list is a great place to start, wherever platform you're using. That is, listen, if you're writing horror stories and you're comparing your book price to, Stephen King, we have a problem. So, the point is that you want to be able to, you establish yourself, and you do so by creating that beachhead and being able to, once you land on the beach, then you can start setting your prices. But, look for something middle of the road. As a traditionally published author, I had very little say in what the price of the book was going to be. So they did take my advice. They did take my opinion, and they never, did anything with it. Which is the nice thing about being a self-published author, is that you're in total control. So, yeah, even though you can change it, you still don't want to make that initial mistake and put yourself into a bad spot.
Right. Okay, so here, let me ask this question. I assume everyone here reads as well as writes. So, starting with you, Joe, because you're the first on my screen. What's the most you're willing to pay for let's say ebook? Because I think the majority of the sales are probably going to come from ebook, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's been my vision at it at this point. But when it comes to ebook, how much are you willing to pay? What's your max?
Okay, well, the first thing I do is I shop around. I look at the price, what the paperback costs compared to what the Kindle book costs, or whatever, or the Kobo version, wherever it's going to be, or Nook, or what have you. I'm still a paper guy. I still like to read a book that I can touch. So if I can get the paper version for a couple of dollars more, even if it's $2, sometimes I'll go with that. But if there is a big difference between the paperback's $20 and the I'm looking at the $10 range at that point. I'm looking at it's generally I've seen about half. I've paid $15, $20 for electronic versions, but that's only because the paperbacks were $30 and $40. So, and even for instance, like a book like that I wrote, $40 is what you pay for it if you buy the paperback version, and you can get it the Kindle version for less than $20. So, this is something where you think about. So you're looking at half.
Okay. All right.
And listen, if I want to read the book, it doesn't really matter how much it's going to cost me. That's the other point. And that's something like what Mark was saying before. If you put it just right, if the person wants to read it, the price point is not going to make much of a difference. But you got to have that demand for it too. You got to have something, to push it.
Exactly. So, Mark, how about you?
You know what? I'm with Joe 100% on that. A good place to start for pricing is even if you don't have a paperback, because a lot of indie authors doing ebooks don't have a paperback version. Look at what 50% of the paperback price would be, and that's a great place to start, and you can slide accordingly. The first ebook I ever bought, it was a Sony reader, 2006, I think. Joe Hill. It came pre-built with Joe Hill's 20th Century Ghosts, and there was the first story was there, it was free. I thought, I'd never heard of this guy before. Now we know who he is, but I had never heard of him. And I read it and I went, oh my God, this is great. Here's the funny thing. The hardcover in Canada was $29.95. I think it was probably $24 in the US. And I bought the ebook for $32. I loved it so much. Then I went and bought the hardcover. And I always tell people that free thing I got led to me buying the book multiple times. I've actually bought the hardcover twice. Once to keep, once to give away as a gift, and I also bought the ebook. So I'd love to talk about free later on and how that works. But so I decide when I look at a book to buy for myself, I'm very similar to Joe. I want to make sure I'm getting a good value because I still do read paper books, and I probably read twice as many books because I read digitally because I have access to a lot more books for a better price. But it's the quality. It's, do I know this author? Have I read this author before? Has this author, because I buy the author is the brand to me, will this author give me the entertainment for 8 hours that I'm going to get out of enjoying this book. And I would not balk at spending $15, $20 on a book I know I'm going to enjoy, just like you will go see that new movie that that you have to see, and it's going to cost you $60 just to take your wife and son just to see this movie, and it's the same sort of thing. I will buy 99-cent novels, but I'm always leery if the author prices themselves so low. Why? I always question that. If I don't know the author, I'm a little bit leery about that.
99 cents. I mean, I don't like when they say, hey, today's my book's on sale for 99 cents. It's normally $1.25. Now it's 99 cents. So even if I wait 4 more days, it's free, right? I mean, that's basically what we're doing, a quarter a day. And the marketing aspect is huge. I mean, you have to have this platform built before you're doing any of this stuff, because people will Google you. They will look to see if you've shown up anywhere. I mean, if you're going to take a chance on a first-time author, you want to know, all right, why does this person write the book? What do they have any background in it? And do a little research. I mean, listen, the internet's opened up the whole world to being private investigators, basically. So they're going to look it up.
And if I can go back to 99 cents just for a second, because I think it's important. 2 years ago, authors like John Locke used 99 cents to differentiate himself and sell 1 million copies of a book. That used to be a differentiating factor, while all other books were priced at $18 and $15. It used to be, hey, look, this is, wow, for less than the price of a cup of coffee. Well, you know what? You go into, like, Kobo's catalog of 4 million titles, there's 500,000 titles that are 99 cents. That's no longer a differentiator. The differentiator, in a lot of ways, is that, in a lot of ways, in the indie space I'm seeing, are the people who are willing to price their book for what it's actually worth, as opposed to trying to go as cheap as possible to get someone's attention.
Right. And if you think about that, where you price it just right, and then you add your marketing plan with it, I think you can, get yourself a little publicity. I think you'll be, well on your way to selling it.
That's a good point. So throwing it back, Harlan, when you're buying a book, what's the most you'll pay for it?
I get most of my books from junk shops, Goodwill, places like that. I look for authors, and it costs me about 50 cents.
It's the 99-cent one.
So what if there's a book that you really want to read, Harlan? How much will you pay for it?
That I really want to read?
Mm-hmm.
I still pay about 50 cents.
Okay. So Harlan is your target audience.
Tough customer, boy. I thought I was bad customer, but he's terrible.
There's a book that you can buy, an ebook, that you can't read a few pages of right from the beginning. And if I see more than 10 adverbs in the first paragraph, I'm not interested anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I look for quality of writing when I pick up a book like that. If it carries me along and I follow down 2 or 3 pages, then I'd probably buy it. My books are, as suggested by Amazon, $2.99.
Okay.
And I move the most books when they're all for free.
Well, we'll get into that later on.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
It's free is for me. Free is not a terrible 4-letter word.
Yeah,
No, free can be amazing. Now you go to $2.99 because that's where you maximize your margin, right? If you priced it at $2.98, you would get 35%. On Amazon, you would get 45% on Kobo, but at $2.99 on pretty much every platform, you get 70%.
Yeah, what I have on Kobo, my paperback's up around $6 or $7, and I'm not sure, probably $2.99 for the ebooks as well.
Yeah, that's 50% of the paperback, right?
Yeah.
So, Mark, can you touch on that again for those who missed it? Because as far as maximizing it, why $2.99 instead of $2.98?
So places like Amazon and Kobo have the minimum price point. If you price your book at $2.99 US or higher, you get 70% is what the share that you get as an author, and the retailer keeps 30%. If you go below that, even by a penny, on Amazon, your royalties drop to 35%. I'm saying royalties even though that's not the correct term. It's just what we're used to hearing it as. On Kobo, ours is 45%. It's pretty similar. It drops it pretty much in half. And so that's the maximizing of revenue. And we've even looked at cases where if you walk your price up from $2.99 to $3.99, even if you sell 2 less units per week, would you have made more margin? And that's where when Joe talks about it being a business, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Is, so I lost a reader or two, but I gained more margin, and this is I think this is important. And when you price your book too low, people make a decision as to whether or not they're going to read it. And we talked about, previewing the book and seeing if, is this actually a good book? When the price is really low, it's like, it's just the price of a cup of coffee. I'm going to buy this book even though it's not something I would normally buy. And I'm a horror writer, so there are a lot of books that I write that are not everyone's cup of tea. And if somebody buys it because I might as well check it out, the review that they're going to post is, well, I normally don't buy this crap, but I ended up buying it, and so I'm giving it 1 star. And so that's the risk you can run when you make it too accessible to the wrong people. You get bad reviews.
Well, listen, you're gonna deal with haters no matter what you're dealing with. I always call haters as motivators. I mean, you can really, no matter what kind of book you publish, if you're a traditional published, self-published, there'll be people who are gonna just hate on you anyway because they always wanted to write a book and they have it. So I always tell people, just write it and then we can talk about yours. But the point is, you got to deal with that. And actually, negative reviews are actually a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they balance things out, don't they?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, sometimes I'm skeptical if you go on and there's, a 5-star, it's 5-star reviews and there's 15 reviews. Well,
for a 99-cent book, this guy has that many friends that he can do this.
Exactly. So, but coming back to the free and 99-cent thing, actually, I really want to touch on this because I've said it on the show multiple times. I'm an avid reader. I read so much that I was spending $8 or $9 on ebooks, but it was becoming ridiculous. And actually, my husband had to sit me down and say, "Hey, listen, I love you. I know that you love this, but spending anywhere from $20 to $50 a week on books is rather ridiculous." So, I started looking at things like BookBub and Feed Your Reader, sites like that will throw out these books for you that are free or 99 cents or $1.99 on promotion. And I found that actually it's a great bargaining chip, for the author. I'm going to let you guys talk about it a little bit. What's the draw of listing your book down to 99 cents? Is there a reason to do that, and when should you do it? I'm going to go to Joe first. Just again, you're the first on the screen.
Well, like I said, I look at the 99-cent price point. That's your Dollar Trees, that's your bargain basement bin, and that's the way a lot of people do view them that way. I always thought that I've never done this before with a book, pricing it at 99 cents. So I'm just talking from what I would think from a business person's perspective. I would always want something to see more than 99 cents because I think 99 cents is like is too cheap as far as I'm concerned. If you just take a look at even with comic books today. A comic book, an electronic comic book. It's the regular price. You're paying whatever $3 or $4 for it, and people are snapping these things up like candy. So it's like everything else. If you have your base, you have your platform, you have a little bit of a following, they're going to pay for your book no matter what price it is. Okay. I would just be real careful fishing in that part of the I like the deeper water.
Okay. How about you, Mark? What do you say?
So it's interesting. When I traditionally publish and self-publish. So one of the self-published projects that I have was a 300-page anthology that the print book sold for $20. So I set the ebook price at $9.99, but that was first published in 2009. Now that it's a backlist, it's no longer a new title. I've slowly walked the price down. So now my regular price is $4.99. It's a great deal because the paperback's still $20. So it's a really good deal. I got a BookBub promo for this, and it was the horror. The title was Campus Chills, and I was able to do a BookBub promo, and it was a 99-cent promo. And I was a little worried because I paid $150 to have this listed, and it was amazing that at 99 cents and at my 35% margin that I was making on each sale, it took me 6 hours to make my money back, which I made in total $300. So it cost me $150. I got $300. I walked away with $150. So I made, I doubled my money by investing that in, and that was good. And the reason people do this is because it ranks their book and it trends their book, and their book gets some, we call it, on Kobo we call it temperature, the hotness or the heat of the book. If there's a lot of people previewing the book, viewing the book, buying the book, that creates an increased temperature, and the rank starts walking up, and the also bots and the auto recommends automatically start kicking in. And so doing a promo like that with 99 cents gets you the traction just to kickstart your sales, and then it goes back to normal price, and then now there's more people who have it in their libraries, and there's there's relationships created between that book and another book that somebody may have read, and that's what authors, a lot of them, are trying to do with those promos.
How often does that happen, though, Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How often does what happen?
The where you get a point where you get that 99 cents and you hit something like pay dirt, like you hit. I mean, how often does that happen?
So I mean, on Amazon, I ranked. I think I got to be author number 14 in the horror listing, which was pretty cool, but that was short-lived. And on Kobo and Amazon were the two markets that I did really, really well in, and my halo effect for both Amazon and Kobo has continued, and this was January of this year that I did this. So it's lasted quite a while, and now I'm not, flying a jet airplane around because I've made so much money off of this. But whereas normally I would sell a handful of books in a month, and now I'm selling 2 handfuls on both platforms. So my sales have gone up, and every once in a while, for some strange reason, I mean, I'm doing really, really well with that title still on Amazon in the UK and on Kobo in New Zealand. So it's just this weird, and again, nothing to write home about, but every once in a while I hit the top 100 on either of those platforms, and that's pretty exciting.
And actually, I wanted to take it a step further because I think that it's important to mention I am a huge supporter of BookBub. And I'm sorry, Joe, I always agree with you on everything, and I'm not going to this time, but I'll tell you why. I started buying books on BookBub about probably a little over a year ago, and that was the first one I went to. I do Feed to Reader now, and I know that there's others out there, but I get a little overwhelmed. Even I can't keep up with that many books. So, but I will say, 2 of my very favorite authors that I would, prize. I mean, one of them was on last week, and the other was written for our blog. They are 2 of my very favorite authors. They are not huge names. They're not well known. I would have never found them if it weren't for BookBub. And what did I do? I bought that book for 99 cents or $1.99 or whatever it was. And then I went there and I bought, one of the authors had, I think, 10 or 12 books. I've bought every single one of them and read them all. And then I went and did, and I'm doing the same thing with the other one now. So I will say that's another advantage. I mean, if you have multiple books out, that's another reason to do that, because there's people like me who love series, who once I find an author, I'm very, I'm loyal to them. Once I've found that author that I love, I will keep going back. And so how much money have they made on just me? And so if there's 10 people that did the same thing, even if it's only 10 people, that's a lot of money they've now made just because of that one promo. So with that said, I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but I mean, I'm a big supporter, and I would love to be able to have them on the show again, and or in the future period, just because I do think that that's something that is very valuable to authors. Now, with that said, Rudi, I never asked you, what's your high point? What's your high, your low? Where are you willing to spend?
It's funny. I mean, I sitting here listening to all this, and the first thing that comes to my mind is both Joe and Mark are authors, and so therefore they're talking books. I'm not an author. You're my author, actually, but I'm a businessman, and we already established that books are a business. And there are so many things that you learn in business that no matter what you do, whether you make books or you make widgets, the first time, if you make widgets and you go to a show and you put the widgets out there at a price, and after 2 hours you're sold out, your price was way too low. You sit there the second day, you still have the same widgets you had the first day, your price was way too high. And that's how we used to look at it. And of course, you try to come up with that good price, and I think Joe said that. You come up with that real price the first time, but you can't always do it. So you do have to fine-tune it. And the nice thing about indie authors, they can do that with their digital books. They can go back and make that adjustment. Now, the free book comes under what I learned as what's called a loss leader, or they sell things under the price it cost them to make, which certainly if you give it away, or 99 cents, and you went through an editor and you went through a person that created your book cover, 99 cents is not going to cover that for a long time. But you want to do that, especially, and you just hit on it, Darcie, if you have a series of books in mind. The first one is out there, it's ran its course, it's dying off. Now your second one is about ready to go to be published. Now is when you take your first one and either make it free or 99 cents. Because if they like it, and this is what you're going to have to look at really very careful. Did they really like this, what they see? They just didn't like my price or something. Once they read it, they're hooked. Because they'll want to buy that second one at your standard price. And then, of course, they'll wait for your third one. And they'll push you hard to get that fourth one out before you're ready.
And, and actually, Rudi, that brings up another good point, too. So I'm going to throw it back here to Joe. Once you've sold that first book, you've got this next in the series. I know right now you're not a series, but I think it was something that you were talking about. You were doing your second or third edition now?
Yeah, the third edition now.
And then you were talking about possibly doing something beyond that. If you do that, is your second book, should it be valued at the same level as your first book, or should that be a little bit higher because you've now drawn in the audience? How do you decide where that price should fall?
Well, when they priced the second edition of the text, we added illustrations and photographs and stuff like that would automatically increase the price too. So if you're writing a book with illustrations and photos, I mean, you can, that's another cost that you're going to have.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and what you want to do is still want to keep I mean, I sat down with my publishers and I explained to them the importance of keeping a good price point because you don't want to price yourself out of the market. I mean, when you're still a relatively new person trying to get yourself out there, putting yourself too high, you put yourself out of a price point, and other people are just not going to use your book. So, I mean, as a nonfiction writer, I'm in a different category amongst, your horror writers, your romance writers, and your fiction writers. So, just in respect of, from my experience, the price is extremely important because the people who have to buy these books are going to look at every step of the way about how they can go about getting it cheaper. And I'll tell you something right now, the publishers aren't thrilled over the pricing of places like Amazon and even Apple. They really getting squeezed. It's, if you got to be careful. I mean, and being a traditional published author is not all great, roses and, like Mark said, I'm not gonna be in any private jets anytime soon. That's for sure. But, people think like, oh, you're traditional, like you're going to have like, the pickup truck full of cash in your driveway. That's not the case.
So, Joe, do you think that, we do have nonfiction writers that come on the show and that follow the show regularly. Do you think that it puts you under more pressure because you are nonfiction, especially with yours because it's, it's educational, so to speak? Do you think that puts you under more pressure to price?
Yeah, absolutely. I fought with them. I fought with the publishers. I mean, if I would have listened to them, the book would have been probably priced about at least $5 more than it was.
Okay.
I was pushing for price points even in the initial one that I wanted to make it the $25 because it was at the time free on Amazon for shipping. So, like for instance, when we were this is something you also have to think about, right? I mean, if you're pushing paper, you have to think about that. And now the average book is what, $35? I think you get free, shipping from Amazon. So, I mean, my book falls within the second realm of that too, the second edition, because it was priced at $39. So we actually had that covered, unbeknownst to us that it was going out. So that's something else to consider. I mean, listen, Amazon's like, I guess, the Death Star, and you're gonna the empire. You're gonna have to deal with it, and publishers are gonna have to deal with it, and you have to also price accordingly because that's where everybody goes right now. Until Mark gets Kobo out and knocks Amazon out the door, that's what you got to be dealing with. But hey, listen, you never know.
No, exactly. So, what about you, Mark? What's your
speaking on behalf of the Rebel Alliance, this is an interesting fact, and Joe, this could be something that works really, really well potentially for you is. Our partnership with the indie booksellers in the U.S. has demonstrated a very interesting price phenomenon. Amazon customers have been taught that books should be cheap or free. That's They've been trained that way.
Mm-hmm.
Independent bookstore customers have been taught that books are a valuable commodity, and they don't, when they shop at an independent bookstore, they typically aren't getting the the Walmart discounts and the Costco discounts and the Amazon discounts. They walk in, a book is presented to the customer, it is a rich experience, the cultural thing, all of the things you hear about that relationship. And interestingly enough, we see the same effect on Kobo.com in the US, our direct sales to customers in the US, and our sales to customers in the US through the independent bookstores. The average price is about $1.25 higher when it comes through an independent bookstore. One of the reasons that we factor is that it's very likely that customer is buying something and they're not conditioned to only buy based on price, but based on what they're looking for. And so that's a really interesting thing to look at. The other thing is that the categories that sell really, really well on Kobo are romance, more active romance, if you will, the more adult version of romance, thrillers and mysteries, and then sci-fi and fantasy. So most of the genres sell really, really well. Fiction. Through the independent booksellers, literary fiction, academic, educational, social sciences. So typically you would think about the kind of books that would be hand-sold by a bookseller at your local independent bookstore is very on par with what we sell really, really well in the US in particular because of that partner we have. So I thought I would raise that because some authors who, I do really, really well with my romance books here, but if I have other books that are, more literary, they do better through the independent bookstore channel. So it's interesting to see there isn't just one answer, even through one retailer. So you may find the same thing on Amazon, where Amazon customers in the UK behave differently than the ones in the US.
That's interesting. So, that is really interesting, actually. So with what you're saying, though, that at Kobo, you can actually sell direct through Kobo, or you can go through their partner, and that is your way to sell with that independent publisher. Or
it's automatically listed. It's automatically listed both.
Okay.
So customers may find us through Kobo.com, and other customers may find it through, Powell's, or through local independent bookstore website, or through in-store signage or something like that, where they're recommending a local author because they've got digital books.
Excellent. Okay, so then getting back to what we were saying before, now if Joe, whether it's Joe or it's the the erotica that you're selling, I mean, do you price the first book the same as the second book, or is there sort of an equation that you use for that? What kind of recommendation do you make?
Well, I believe the standard rule is that to have like a second edition or the second book, whatever, usually like about 25%, I think, is generally the is the upgrade. Listen, if you're putting out a better product, you're putting out something, and if you added a lot to it, so you're going to do that. So if you have a fiction book, a non-fiction book like myself, I mean, you have to change at least 25% and add new material too. So that has to be factored into the price as well, because as your traditional publisher, they're getting the cost now for the extra paper and what have you, so their prices go up too. And Mark talked about margins before. A lot of people don't even understand the margin aspect of things. It's basically you take in more than you spend, and that's basically what you want to look at. But,
right.
No, I mean, but that's the point that he brings up. I mean, and there it is. Once again, it's another business term, and a lot of people don't understand this. It's very important that the author puts out the very best product that they can too, because you can have the if you don't have a very good book, it doesn't matter what the price is, because it's not going to sell. So that's basically where you want to invest yourself and your time and your money and get that done. I mean, listen, how many times you read a book and you still find mistakes in it? So nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. But if I can see grammar errors, it's bad.
Okay.
and that's the bottom line. Listen, I mean, I'm definitely like not the smartest guy in the room here, that's for sure. So you got to be very careful when you're doing this.
Well, let's first acknowledge the fact that Joe has shared information with us countless times that we've I think my word earlier was "that's genius." So
Yeah, and my follow-up was that. I said, yeah. Now we'll be recording. I can actually say it. I've been used, a lot of adjectives have been used to describe me. Genius hasn't been one of them.
I was happy to be the first to acknowledge it. So with that said, Mark, how about you? What second edition, or a second in the sequel? What's the pricing rules there?
So two things work really, really well. The concept of funnel. You want to make it easy for people to get in and check out your work, whether that's a free preview, a first chapter for free. Using digital platforms, you can actually do like a prequel to the. Let me talk fiction. For a bit of a change. If you have multiple books, sometimes making that first book free works. We have a landing page called Free First in Series, where we have curated, and we probably have 200 or 300 different books from the Kobo catalog, where the first book the author has made permanently free. We have seen stats, and it's really, really interesting, where you have 12,000 people download the first book, and then your sales, you get a ratio usually of about 1.4% conversion to actual sales. And you look at that and go, wow, that's small. But we've actually done studies where we've actually cracked, peeled the onion, so to speak, where we've actually looked at it and said, so 12,000 people took the book for free, but how many people actually opened it? Because lots of people take free stuff and never look at it.
Right.
So interestingly, so 3,000 of those people actually cracked the cover. I mean, they actually opened the book. Of those 3,000 people, how many people finished reading the book in a 2-week period, just as an average? And then of those people, how many went on to buy the rest of the book? And when we peel it down to that layer, we find that those who actually read the book and are engaged with the book, because this is a book they're enjoying, they actually finish it relatively quickly. 56% of those people, between 44 and 56% in the different studies we've done, will go on to buy one or more of the rest of the books. And Darcie, you admitted that. You checked out a book from an author, you went, wow, this is great, and you went and bought everything else from that author. We have used that for the last year on Kobo for authors who said, well, I loaded my books to Kobo, I haven't had any action. The reason we push this free first in series is to say, well, all we need to do to give you a little kickstart is just throw you in that feature, and then suddenly your books, you will find a lot of people take your book, the right people, ideally from that, a small subset will read it, and then you will find some true fans and slowly grow your base.
Okay, so then do you price the second book a little higher than you would otherwise to kind of cover the fact that you've offered that for free?
There's no one answer. Some authors will do 99 cents for the first book, but then walk the second book up to $2.99 or $3.99, and then it's just different authors try different things, and there is no one strategy that always works. But I think when Joe talked about the 25% increase, pretty good strategy. It's like, I'm good, I'm really enjoying this, and I've gotten my free book, my value, it's great, thank you for entertaining me for 8 hours. Oh my god, the second book was $2.99. Wow, this is great, a whole novel for $3? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. I really enjoyed that, and oh god, I love this character, I can't wait to see what happens next. You don't want to rip off your loyal fan, but the loyal fan is willing to pay for a good product that they value.
Right, exactly. I agree. So, I completely forgot what I was going to go with afterwards. You just threw me. I'm sorry, that was awful. I was going. What I was going to say is, when you mentioned the fact that it all depends on the author. So the new author that's out there that has maybe this is their second book in the series, or they're releasing them at the same time, or whatever it may be. How often can they play with price and get away with it? Is it bad to play with price often?
People are used to it, right? We're in the Wild West. This is the beginning of the digital transformation of publishing. We are at the cutting edge it's new. It is the Wild West. Customers are used to them being all over the map. So I don't think you're going to shake anything up if you change your price a lot. Now, it'd be crazy to go from, my book's $20 today and it's free tomorrow and it's $9. You're going to really annoy people. But I do think the risk, if you go too wild, $1 here, $1 there is not that different to try things out, but you don't want to set up an expectation. So you make the first 5 books you publish are all 99 cents, and then you go, all right, the 10th book I'm going to publish is going to be $5.99. Your loyal following may be so used to spending $1 on your books, they may not go to $5.
Right. Okay. That's a good point. So Harlan, didn't you played with price not that long ago, didn't you? With one of your books?
Not really. I think I dropped a few down to 99 cents for a while. And the results were absolutely normal. 0 sales.
I wanted to make, like, it's going to be different for everybody,
Right. No, and I was just curious, like, how long did you run that deal? So let's say it's a 99-cent deal. How long did you run the deal before you gave up and upped it up to $2.99 again?
Well, I didn't give up. I simply set dates that would be the duration of, I think it amounted to 5 days, a work week.
Okay.
And then it went back automatically to the regular price. But I wanted to ask Mr. Lefebvre if when he dropped his price to 99 cents, did you put out a notice or an ad or let people know?
Well, that's what BookBub. That's what I paid for. I paid for that BookBub ad, and I dropped it. I scheduled it. I gave them my $150. Oh, they accepted it, took my $150, scheduled it, and then they sent that message to. And Darcie is a subscriber to BookBub. You probably sign up and say, I read on Kindle or Apple or Kobo or Nook, and I like thrillers or I like romance or whatever it is that you read, and you get those daily emails that say, hey, here are 4 books we think you'll like, and they're either free or $2 or 99 cents or whatever. I wouldn't have gotten any of that traction if I just changed the price.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I change my prices all the time, and people just ignore them the way they ignore them when they haven't changed.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So, all right. Well, you've kind of mentioned now what BookBub does. There are others. I mean, have you experimented with any of the others or seen the effects of those? I don't really know that much about Feed Your Reader. I just subscribed recently. And I know there are others that I've gotten little emails for.
Fussy Librarian looks like a growing market that's very interesting.
Okay.
And it was really, I was just chatting with the guy today about it because I looked at it as, I've been a bookseller for 20 years, and I looked at it and went, I really like the curation they're doing it. Because that's the thing is, BookBub doesn't take just anyone's money. BookBub will only take your money if they think you're going to make your money back. And that's, and we do that as, we merchandise stuff, and we merchandise stuff that we believe customers are going to actually buy. So if I had a really crappy title and a really horrible cover that doesn't speak to the target audience, BookBub is not going to take, even if I say, hey, here's $1,000, I want you to promote my book. They're not going to do that because that's going to violate the trust they have with their customers. And that's a really important thing to consider. And if you ever notice, the stuff that gets picked for BookBub is usually pretty good. It's curated. 100 people submit, probably, and I don't know the actual numbers because I don't work there. But I mean, I've submitted for BookBub 3 times and I got in once. And I thought my odds, those were amazing odds because I thought it'd be more like traditional publishing where there's 1,000 submissions for everyone that gets in.
Right. So, Joe, have you played with pricing at all? I mean, I know that you're kind of in a different, different ballpark because of the traditional publishing, but has that been played with at all?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't have much control over that in the traditional publishers. Unlike when you're an independent author, I mean, you have total control over it. I have no control over it, and even the publisher has no control over what Amazon does. I mean, it's pretty much on their whim. If they want to put the book on sale, like for instance, you'll see my book will go on sale, quote unquote, on Amazon when the big spikes come. So, for instance, if you look back on the history of my book sales through, because I mean, one thing Amazon does have for authors is that Amazon Central, Author Central is phenomenal, where you can actually track, but you can watch the spikes, and the big spikes come from when the semester starts. So my book will go up in price right in the end of August because that's when everyone's going to be buying the book, and then they'll go, certainly down, and then, but I actually have another bonus, and my thing is that the state of New Jersey Civil Service Commission uses my text for police promotional exams. So they give exams now all the time. And I got, and they added captains to the list now too. So you got sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. So now that whole thing has been thrown off. So like, Amazon doesn't know when to put it on sale and when to put it full price because the book sales. I mean, the closest I've ever gotten to #1 was #4. So I mean, that's for me. That was I had to take a screenshot because no one would ever believe me. You know, I'm like Control Alt Delete, Control Alt Print Screen. You know, I'm trying to make sure that I captured that. But it's you know, I follow it. I'm very I mean, listen, this is my business. This is my this is where I'm heading. And I mean, I'm writing another book for them now, so it'll be, you know, and once I get the second book out there, and now I understand how this goes. People have asked me, you know, do you consider going self-publishing after doing the traditional publishing route? And I said, if I decided to ever write a fiction book, I'm going to probably definitely do my independent thing.
Right.
But from the genre I'm in, and what I do with the media and stuff like that, the traditional book is the way I have to go.
Okay, so here, let me ask this one. I know we're right at the end, and I really do want to give you guys time to promote yourselves at the end, which we always do. And we still will, so we might go over a few minutes, which is fine. But I have one more question. I'll throw it to Joe again first. If you sell the book yourself, I mean, do you ever have copies on hand or on your website or whatever? Do you offer a promotion to people because they're buying it direct from you?
Yes, I could buy the books at a discount, so I sell them for the exact price that I pay for it on my website.
Okay.
I give them cheaper. So, and I do a lot of speaking engagements. I mean, I just came back from Connecticut where I sold 30 books for one speaking engagement. But I sell it to them at cost because I have been there where you're selling your book and the people in the audience are going to Google and going to Amazon and they're finding how much it costs online. And I'm serious. And actually, I've had people, more than one person tell me the only reason why I'm buying your book for today because it's cheaper than what if I bought it on Amazon. Because that's a big thing. I mean, people are very savvy. I mean, I see them in Barnes and Nobles all the time. You know, and searching Amazon. Yeah, and they give you free Wi-Fi too, which somebody really needs to talk to the CEO at Barnes and Nobles and say, I don't know if this is such a great idea. But I mean, I do this thing called thinking, and apparently nobody else does. But you know, I mean, listen. People shop, people do this, and I'm warning the speakers out there who are selling your books. I'm telling you right now, if you're looking to make a buck on your audience, you can forget it. Because you know, you can forget it. So
it is. It's true. I've been there. I've done that with kids' books, especially when you go in and you know go to Barnes and Noble and it's $14.99. I know. I just saw this the other day for $8.99.
Right. Well, like I said, when I sell my own books and I sell on my own, I sell about 50 copies a month on my own, which I make zero. Actually, I lose money because I have to drive to the publisher and pick up the book. So the gas money I don't include. No, but like. You know what, but though this is about business, about creating a market share, put your name out there so that if I have another book or another edition come out, they just go automatically and buy it. So that's the idea. So, you know, I'm not totally against this whole 99-cent idea, trust me. But the idea is you got to make sure that you have something really good out there to do it with. So like a series, which I never thought of, but the series book, like Mark brought up, I think that's a great idea, you know, where 99 cents brings you into the family kind of thing. Of your books, that's a great idea. Never thought of it that way, but like I said, it's just something to be careful with.
I agree, and I have seen that where, you know, fortunately with, you know, those programs that I'm talking about, they kind of feed you what they know you'll like, which is a good thing. But I have seen where, you know, I'll get an email because this, no offense, Mark, at all, but this horror book is on sale. You know, 99 cents buy this horror book. I am not a horror book reader. I just read one for someone that was on the show. I am a horrible horror book reader. I am that person who lays in bed at night terrified with the curtains shut and the door shut and, you know, hugging my husband's arm because I'm scared to death because I just read 10 pages of this book. So I'm not going to give it a good review because I can't. I'm like, I am so bad at it. So you're right. I mean, in that sense, you know, you put it on for 99 cents and it gets sent to someone like me, and that might not be a great thing for your book because I'm probably not going to be the best person to promote it. So. Yeah.
Well, and that's a key thing. It's a whole other topic, but it's the target audience. When people ask me, tell me about your books, I'm like, well, what do you like to read? I like to read romance. Okay, you don't want my books. But you know what? I have got a friend, Julianne McLean. She's an amazing romance writer. You know, tell me a book you've liked. I'll recommend one to you. I would rather push a book that I think you're going to like than try to sell you my book, and it'll be a bad experience for you and for me. Because you'll say this guy sucks. It's funny. I have actually some nonfiction books traditionally published, and I buy them at a lower price than the retail. But I do buffer in a cost. It is usually cheaper So if the books sell for $25 regularly, I'll try to sell them for $22 because I get them at whatever, and I want to pay for my gas to go pick up the books from the warehouse and stuff. So I don't want to do it at a loss, because what I do at a loss is giveaways. I will do the Goodreads giveaway, and I will do I will ship copies to people. They love my last book. Thanks so much. Here, I want to give you my new book. Check it out. Thanks so much. You were really supportive. I would rather take that money that I make and invest that in the community.
That's a good point, actually. So there's so many things that we could touch on right now. And Rudi, I'm going to let you do this end of the show because we haven't heard from you much tonight. I'm sorry. Taking over tonight.
Do your usual. Go ahead.
Are you sure? All right. So what we'd like to do at the end of the show is take the last 8 minutes, which we now have 3, so feel free to go 5 over, and give everyone a chance to kind of tell people what they're up to, touch on anything that we didn't touch on tonight that you feel is important. Please just use it as a time to promote yourself, because above all else, we want to do that for our guests. So, Joe, you're up first. Have at it.
Okay. My website is joegiacalone.net. You can look for me this winter. I'll be filming a couple of new shows for Investigation Discovery. They'll come out in the winter of 2015. I can't believe I'm even talking about the winter of 2015 already. That's something that I'm excited about. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Joe Giacalone. There's a lot of social media. I'm on Google Plus too, of course. And you can follow me on my my media interviews. I do a lot of them. I'm on the news a lot, and you can just go to the website and take a look at it. And I like to hear from the people who watch this stuff, because topics of crime-related investigations kind of thing. And I get a lot of email, a lot of different things. So if you have questions, and listen, I'm just going to throw this out there. I had another one this week where someone asked me to read their entire book for them to see if it's from the crime standpoint. I'm sorry, I don't have the time to do that. But I mean, if you have a specific question you like answered, I could do that. But
that could be a good side business for you, no?
No. Everybody wants me to do it.
No side.
I don't want to pay for it.
$100 deposit.
Yeah. If I say, sure, give me the book, it's going to cost you X number of dollars, I think I'd stop getting emails. So, but I do answer a lot of questions. So if you have them, even via Twitter. So I like answering the questions via social media, especially it's 146 characters. I don't have to worry about grammar.
There you go.
All right, Mark, how about you?
So CobraWritingLife.com is the blog where we put out lots of tips and focuses on authors and the craft and business of writing. Personally, as a writer, you can find me at Mark Leslie. Fortunately, nobody has to spell Lefebvre for that. My website is markleslie.ca. My nonfiction books are nonfiction explorations of the paranormal. I am a big chicken, that's why I write horror. I'm really excited because my book coming out in the fall is called Tomes of Terror, Haunted Bookstores and Libraries, and most of the focus is on Canada and the US, with the UK and rest of the world as sort of the last third of the book. But that's the self-promo shtick that I'm going to throw out there.
Excellent. And did you want to tell people about the big event going on right now?
Hugh Howey in town, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we're really excited. So Hugh Howey is in Toronto, which is Kobo's head office in Canada, and tomorrow we have him for a Kobo in conversation. We've actually got about 60 local Kobo Writing Life authors we've invited to come in as VIPs to hang out with Hugh, to have some pizza, to watch him get interviewed, and we're really, really excited to have him in Canada for the first time, which is really, really fun.
Excellent. That sounds wonderful. I wish I could be there. Wouldn't have a seat, but I'd be willing to stand in the back.
Oh, we'd make a seat for you, Darcie.
Harlan, it's your turn.
I just recently put up an article on my blog, different ways to use description. And I should say something about Joe's website. You have to get a mugshot and be fingerprinted to get on. The marijuana exhibit is good because they teach you how to roll a joint that isn't fat in the middle.
Oh, Harlan, what are we gonna do?
The part is nice. You get there's a simulation. You go into an old folks' home, and you beat them up, and you take their Vialis and their candelabra. You get away with it. It's a good site. People should go there and check it out.
Yeah, just to throw another point is that you brought up the site, named number 53 out of the top 101 criminal justice sites on the net. So I just got that award this week. So coldcasepod.com is the blog. Yeah. So I mean, even my terrible writing is getting recognized. So just showing that anybody can do it.
And this is a lesson on how not to promote yourself as an author, right? My terrible writing.
You know what, though? Believe it or not, I think people really like the honesty approach. I really do,
I think you're right. All right, Rudi, how about you?
Well, I don't know what I have to say. The one thing I did forget, besides it being our 40th anniversary, you and I, this week there was another person that made some news, and he's an old friend of the show, John Rakestraw. Did you notice that he released an audiobook using his own voice, and on Amazon it is free if you have the Prime membership. So I did. So I downloaded it and I actually listened to it. And I'm going to be honest with you, the way John writes is the way he speaks. I didn't understand a word he said, and when I read it, I don't know what he's saying, because he's well beyond me. I mean, he's really good in what he does. I'm giving him that much. But, he's got to bring it down to my level if I'm going to understand what he's trying to convert me to, But I just want to bring that out there. He did do it, and I want to congratulate him, and it's very good that, he is approaching a new avenue. So, and the last thing that I wanted to do tonight is a special occasion. It's not only our 40th show, but somebody is having a birthday. Or had a birthday.
You're a
Darcie,
few days late, but that's okay, because I really don't want to celebrate.
You notice I only put 2 candles on. I didn't want to embarrass you. Besides, I think at the number of candles, I would have probably had a house fire.
It's very true.
So I will blow these candles out for you, and I will have a piece of it for you tonight.
Oh, excellent.
Put the rest in the mail.
You make a wish.
Thank you, Rudi, very much.
Thank you. At least I'm still here. I thought maybe you wished me away.
I did. I celebrated my birthday over the weekend, and it actually worked out really, really beautifully. We had our college reunion. I'm going to say 5 years because it sounds better. We had our 5-year reunion at college, and so I got to see all my friends from college, and we had a great time, and they made sure to embarrass me profusely while I was there, which is wonderful. But much like Rudi did tonight, thank you. That said, I would like to promote the fact that I am now officially underway with my book with Marguerite Ashton, a wonderful author who I really strongly suggest you check out. I think I actually met her through Joe, so thank you for that introduction. And we've started a book on parenthood, which should hopefully come out within the next few months. We will definitely keep you up to date on that. And otherwise, life is just moving along. I'm actually teaching art classes now, which I haven't done for many years. So about 5, because it was my 5th reunion. So about 5 years since I've taught the last class. And, and SlushHeap's well underway. We're going to take a break this summer. We have, 2 or 3 more episodes this season?
3 more, yes.
We're going to take a bit of a break, and then we will be back next season with even more improvements, as usual.
With a new format, yes.
That's right, and actually, yes, we should announce the fact that SlushHeap will be changing its time slot to better suit those overseas. So we will be moving ourselves to 1 p.m. in Season 5. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you're going to have to do the calculations or contact Rudi for that, because I'm really, really bad at it. So
Katie doesn't have to be here at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
The Australian contingency also, it would be better for them.
Exactly.
Because they could tell us what's happening tomorrow already, see?
Well, how is Harlan's cat going to get up that early? That's what I want to know.
Well, no, Harlan already said it interferes with his grocery shopping.
Oh, I thought you were just saying.
We're working that out.
We're working that out.
Any kudos for your intern?
Any kudos for our intern? Yes, actually, we did hire an intern for SlushHeap. She's still very much getting her feet wet. She will hopefully be making an appearance in the future on the show. Until then, she'll be doing some stuff behind the scenes. And we're very thankful for her because, as you might guess, this show does take up quite a bit of time, and Rudi and I both have other obligations, obviously. So very, very indebted to her, and look forward to working with her more in the future. And with that said, Rudi, I want to just...
The good point is I'm divorcing myself of my other things.
Oh, well, I cannot do that yet.
Yeah, my wife's moving out tomorrow.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, no, I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
She'll love that, yes. So, no, listen.
So with that said, I want to thank everyone very, very much for being here tonight. Joe, as always, you are welcome back anytime. We hope to have you again in Season 5. And Mark, thoroughly enjoyed meeting you. I hope you will return. Best of luck with your event tomorrow. That's wonderful. I really, truly wish I could be there. That's really amazing. So
there will be a video we will post, so you get to see.
Great.
Yeah. Excellent.
Great. And let me tell you something. We're going to look you up at cobowriting.com.
cobowritinglife.com. Yep.
Oh, cobowritinglife.com. Okay. Definitely going to look you up. You know,
yes.
You know, I'm always want to go into something new. I tried Amazon. You know, I got my results, but I don't know if it's different someplace else. And certainly,
you know what, you should be in as many places as possible. Your book should be everywhere. So that it just makes your audience as large as possible around the world.
Exactly.
And the fact that you still work with bookstores really, you know, to me it's just amazing in this day and age. It has to be. You know, I have a local bookstore that, you know, it's if that ever died, I don't know where anybody would go here.
Yeah, so it's important. It's important to partner and collaborate. It really is.
Right. So thank you very much, and thanks for being on tonight. Really learned a lot, like usual. And Joe, same thing with you. Learned a lot. Harlan, what can I say? By the way, Harlan is the only one that saw my Aboriginal painting and made a comment on it. I'm a little disappointed on that one. But tell me, Darcie, you didn't see it.
No, I don't. I don't know where you it, but I will check it out. I think I've seen it, via Google Plus before. But yeah. So anyway, we are going to cut off tonight. I apologize for the darkness. I promise next week I will remember to turn on the light before the show starts. So have a good night, everyone, and we will be back next week, same time. Thank you.
Good night.